Hello, everyone.
Hello, good afternoon, Ekta.
Good afternoon.
Hi, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon to everyone and welcome.
I will just start in the next 2 minutes.
Sure.
Hello. Am I audible, everyone?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, hi, you're audible.
Yes. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So hello all, a very good afternoon. And myself, Ekta Dubey, on behalf of the Brinalytics team and our partner, PTC, we welcome you all and thank you so much for being part of our roundtable, which is avoiding the pitfalls with advanced analytics and digital transformation. So before we start the roundtable, there are a few guidelines that I would like to highlight and make you people aware of. Requesting all the attendees to be on mute when the speakers are taking the session. There would be a Q&A after each session when the attendees can ask their questions to our respective speakers. The guidelines are you need to raise your hands, unmute yourself and on your video, introduce yourself, name, company and designation, and put your question to the concerned speaker. So to start with first, I'm glad to introduce our presenting partner, PTC. PTC enables global manufacturers to realize double-digit impact with software solution that enables them to accelerate product and service innovation, improve operational efficiency, and increase work productivity. In combination with extensive partner network, PTC provides customer flexibility in how its technologies can be deployed to drive digital transformation on premises, in the cloud, and via its pure SaaS platform. To start with the first keynote session, I would like to invite Mr. Raj Kiran C, the Senior Director and Head of IoT AR Business at PTC. He leads a team of sales, pre-sales, and demand generation executives to tap into the vast potential of Indian market and has been with PTC for over 2.5 years in helping companies start their digital transformation journey, as well as chart out the IoT plans. Thank you, Mr. Rajkiran, for being with us today. Over to you. I'll stop the screen sharing.
Thank you, Victor. My screen is visible. Is that?
We can see the screen, Raj.
Great. Thanks. I just wanted to set context before we move into the panel with the esteemed panelists about the
नहीं अभी तक कुछ नहीं है पीछे पड़े
about the pitfalls around the
कुछ hint तो नहीं दिया
that most of the companies have been facing in recent times. I would like to tell you about the analytics journey that from our perspective, from PTC's perspective, and obviously we're going to hear from the industry side shortly. This is just going to be 10 minutes. We've been in the space for over a decade in the IoT space. And what we realize is while the first step of...
Raj, your voice is a bit low. If you can increase the volume.
All right. No. Okay, this is the maximum volume. Am I audible right now?
Yeah, you are. Yeah, maybe you can come closer. Maybe that's better.
Yeah, okay. So I think I'll be a little louder. Thank you, Dina, for telling me that. So in the Internet of Things space, while the first step is about getting real-time information and dashboarding the KPIs of every plant and asset performance, etc., on the screen, the ultimate goal for every company, we realize and we've seen over the years, is to have actionable insights to drive their decisions. And that's why IoT is really synonymous with analytics. And the ultimate goal of implementing IoT is really to have actionable insights coming from the data that we have extracted. The second point was about the fact that analytics really relies on a lot of capabilities and a spectrum of capabilities, ranging from data gathering mechanism to data modeling, to creating analytics models, to eventually incorporating the insights into the existing systems and processes. So it's really not something that's defined between a start and an end, and it's an ongoing transformation journey for most companies. And then the time to start really is now, always. And with the data that you have, the amount of data you have is never going to be sufficient enough. And with the data you have today, you will get a certain amount of insights, and it'll just get more granular as you get further data and go deeper into the ways of extracting data from subsystems and component levels within an organization. This should tell you about the study that McKinsey and Gartner have done, and McKinsey have really identified the major areas of potential economic impact. And you see here that the factory space is really the highest economic impact area, where getting actionable insights is really going to lead more steps towards an automated factory, and with autonomous decision-making going to happen there. So that's where the majority of the impact is going to be realized. In Gartner's top strategic tech trends, you see analytics, AI, machine learning, data sciences in various forms being identified, and therefore there is the future. But really, harnessing IoT data and analytics is not a one-time exercise. It's an ongoing one. With the sensor costs actually reducing over time, there is a significant amount of efficiencies that are being derived and specialized sensors being built for each purpose. We are able to see that the right kind of data is extractable out of the machines and the process. It is a continuous process, and not everything is going to work immediately or from day one. And optimizing what you do today is not enough either. You need to have a long-term view to what needs to be done. Now, the types of analytics capabilities, and most of you must have already seen this over time, is descriptive and diagnostic is really about what happened and why did it happen. But what we really want to do is to predict what will happen in terms of multiple different things, whether it be quality control, predictions or predictive asset failures, and even to get into prescriptive analytics, where you prescribe what needs to be done to avoid a failure in future. And I'm sure that's what is going to be spoken about mostly in the panel that's coming up. But ultimately, decision automation, which is the process or the system decides for itself most of the actions that needs to be taken. And this feedback loop going into the data repository is what the ultimate goal of analytics needs to be. Decision support is where we already have humans, but ultimately decision automation is what the end goal is with data and analytics. Now, what are the benefits that some of our large customers have seen worldwide? This is an automotive supplier, and their end goal is yet to be achieved, but what they have achieved already is to predict equipment alarms 24 hours in advance with this kind of an accuracy, 91% accuracy. What they have achieved now is to reduce unplanned downtime with the method of being able to do predictive maintenance and being able to call out failures before they really happen. We'll talk about this more on the panel as well. Another of our clients, Carlyle, they're in the construction equipment industry, and they've enabled their statistical process control for improving the quality and the show quality. And they prevented defective product and reduced waste amounts significantly. The percentages are yet to be out, but also ensured high product quality and customer satisfaction. So these are some of the end goal benefits that we will have with analytics. As a result of that, manual processes have gone down and productivity and labor efficiency has gone up of the workers, and ultimately the happiness of the workers on the floor. Another global tier 1 auto supplier has, and there is data and statistics here, they improved machine productivity. The asset uptime has gone up significantly by this figure, 45%. And what it really meant for the production is that about 150,000 parts per year were produced more than general. And that resulted in a top line improvement of $50 million. And here are the savings as well. Closer to home, an aluminum manufacturer, rolls manufacturer in the west of India, implemented ThingWorx and analytics, and their metrics. Some of you may be familiar with first pass yield as a metric for measuring defects and improving the quality of the rolls. This was done with ThingWorx and analytics. And the other metric, process variability, also measuring the thickness of the aluminum rolls, etc., was done by ThingWorx analytics. And this is an ongoing process, started very recently with them. Now, coming to a couple of points about ThingWorx's software, PTC's ThingWorx software, which is the essential platform. Going back to my point about the fact that getting data from devices, business systems, cloud systems, etc., is just one step, but really synthesizes the phase where analytics, machine learning, simulations, and really data sciences all come together. And the synthesized step, to break that down for you, you will be able to create either analytics models within the platform, within the software platform that is provided, easily with very less knowledge of machine learning, what we call citizen data scientists, the people that have very cursory knowledge of data sciences. And we've made the system very easy to work with to create analytics models with which you can create diagnostic, predictive, and prescriptive outputs come out of that. And the interface for data interaction and pattern detection is easy with what you have in the platform analytics. Now, you can also, if there are created models in Python, R, or any of the other analytics, PMML models, you'll be able to operationalize that within ThingWorx. And for that, you will be able to use a scoring mechanism, the ThingWorx model data across all of your ThingWorx applications, which are already there, which are modeled with what we call a Thing model. And you can perform simulation-driven analysis. with this. So this is something I wanted to highlight to make sure that it's understood that the platform capabilities do include both of these two. I come to the end of my presentation. Now it's over to you, Ekta, to introduce Virendra and the panel.
Thank you so much, Raj, for sharing your insights. So as Raj has already shared his presentation, any questions before we move on to roundtable, please? You can raise your hands, unmute yourself and put your questions. Or if you want, you can directly mention that on the chat box and we would love to take it from there.
We can take questions at the end, Ekta, after the panel.
I'm okay with that. No problem at all. No problem at all. Thank you so much. So yes, now moving to our interesting roundtable discussion, which is on avoiding the pitfalls with advanced analytics and digital transformation. To start with, I'm happy to introduce our thought leaders. We have Amitabha Tripathi, Senior Vice President, Head of Analytics, Consulting and Solutions with Aditya Birla Management Corporation Private Limited. We have Mr. Mukesh Vyas, General Manager, Integrated Business Solution Unit with Forbes Marshall India. Mr. Varthul Mittal, Technology and Innovation Specialist. Mr. Sanjay Sablok, Head of Manufacturing with Hero MotoCorp. Mr. Shaligram Rani, Vice President and Site Quality, Head Quality with Lupin. Mr. Anubhav Tuli, Strategy Lead and Digital Transformation with Maruti Suzuki India Limited. Mr. Amit Panchal, Head Business Excellence with Kirloskar Oil Engines Limited. And of course, we have Mr. Rajkaran C, Senior Director and Head of IoT and AR Business with PTC. The roundtable is going to be moderated by Mr. Dhirendra Kulkarni, Senior Director, Pre-Sales, PTC. To speak about him, he's having 25 plus years of experience in providing technology solutions in the area of product development and digital transformation. Thank you, Mr. Dhirendra, for being our moderator today. And over to you now to start with our speakers, the roundtable discussion. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Ekta. I hope you can see me and hear me clearly.
Yes, perfect.
Okay, great. So good afternoon, everyone again, and welcome to the panel. Good afternoon to our speakers as well as the audience. It's really my privilege to moderate this panel with extremely high experiences and high experienced professionals in this particular panel. So it's a very interesting topic today, advanced analytics in the context of the digital transformation. So just before we start with the discussion, just try to give a context on the basis of what Raj has already explained. 8 out of 10 companies, the McKinsey report says that 8 out of 10 companies have either done something in the digital transformation or they're in the process of doing the digital transformation. But surprisingly, only 16% of those companies have said that they have benefited out of the digital transformation. Now, one of the important tools to pursue the digital transformation is advanced analytics. But again, surprisingly, I'm not sure if it is surprising or not, that will come out as a part of the panel discussion, but only 10% of the organizations have said that they have got significant benefit out of this advanced analytics section. So this leads to a discussion that what is a kind of, what strategic role that advanced analytics play in the context of the digital transformation. So now to talk about this, we will go around the panel with our experienced professionals to talk about their experience and their learnings on the advanced analytics in the context of the digital transformation. So what we will do is I will go to each one of our speakers and take their point of view or request them to provide their understanding and point of view on basically 2 questions. Okay, you can answer both of them together. And the first one is, what are the key values driving the digital transformation in your organizations, and if any challenges being faced there? And the second question is, as we have all know and probably agree that data is the heart of our enterprise, right? And to do this, advanced analytics is an important role. So what is the kind of strategic role or how strategic it is advanced analytics in your digital transformation journey? If you have adopted it already, or if not, what are the kind of challenges that you are facing in order to realize the value of advanced analytics in your digital transformation journey? So you can answer both of these together. To take your views, first I will go to Mr. Amitabha Tripathi, who is a Senior Vice President and Head of Analytics and Consulting Solutions from Aditya Birla Corporation and Management. So Mr. Amitabha, all yours.
All right, I'm so sorry that, how much 5 minutes?
Yes, I think
Yes.
Amitabh was in a bad patch. Now you're audible and seen. Yes, please.
Yeah, I
How
think
much,
we can take
how much
5
time
minutes.
do we have? 5
Yeah,
minutes?
I think around 4 to 5 minutes. And if time permits, we'll come back to you.
Okay, okay. So the digital transformation for us, and some of you, just to recall that we are a conglomerate with businesses, B2B businesses primarily, in all the manufacturing segments like cement to aluminum, metals to carbon to textile. Plus we have some capital business and some.
Yeah, I think again, we are losing you.
Yeah, actually,
For
Voice is coming and going.
Oh, okay. I'm just stopping my video. Is that any better?
We can hear you now, but maybe, yeah, we can check again. Yes, can go on.
Okay, I just switched on my video. I'm so sorry that I didn't realize that it's going to be that bad patch. But is it okay? Can you hear me now?
Yes, yes, please go ahead.
All right. My sincere apology for this.
No problem.
Now, for the digital transformation for us is that in our decision-making process, how do we leverage data? That's basically how we see in a simple manner. That's how we have been seeing. Now, we have seen value in terms of across the value chain. If I look at from the manufacturing industry perspective, and you can hear me okay, correct?
Yeah, please go ahead.
All right, perfect. So if I look at the value chain, it starts with the procurement to manufacturing, and there is a workforce big part involved in that. Then comes the supply chain piece and sales and marketing. Broadly, these are the business value function that are critical for our businesses. Now, across these functions that I spoke about, if I look at it, the procurement, we might spend more than 30,000 crore in a year for procurement. And that procurement includes raw material like limestone to crude oil, to some of the fuel that's like, coal, pet coke, etc. Now, if I look at it, I've got 300 plus plants today where procurement is not always central. It's decentralized. How the planning happens, when to procure, from whom to procure, how much money should I spend? Should I hedge? Should I procure domestically, internationally? How do I reduce the lead time? For all of these things today is pretty unstructured. So there is an opportunity to consolidate this procurement and bring 2 to 3% savings that we have seen. Now, this is not only about the fuel or raw material, we also can talk about spare parts. There are so many machineries, spare parts. That's another element of it. Manufacturing energy, almost 45,000 crore is spent across the businesses in energy part. Now, energy, how do we benchmark, reduce that? And if I just talk about reduction of energy, it's not only about the process, because process stability is a big issue. And measuring that is another big element there. We talk about anything from 1 to 5%, depending on where we are today, but we could get that kind of a value. And with some of this, we are already realizing it, but there are opportunities to go. Then comes the asset utilization. You know that for this manufacturing kind of industry, the capex cost is very high. These machines are very high, expensive machines. Now, if the machine is down for 2 days, it's a big loss. Yeah. How do I leverage these machines? How do I utilize the machines better? Now, that utilization comes from 2 elements. One is production planning better. And second is, can I predict downtime or potential machine failure and plan for it? That's the other element of it. Then comes supply chain. Supply chain has the visibility element. That is the track and trace that we've been doing already. We are saying almost 8 to 9% opportunity there. There are 2 elements for supply chain. I'm just picking a bit first to cover a couple of things. Now, the supply chain element, if I look at, one is that for the same route, say I go from for this route, what's my PTPK? Now, if I use the market fleet, the price can vary from 120 to 320 rupees PTPK. Now, if I have to just make it to a narrower band, how do I negotiate? That's another one. Similarly, if I have got 3 different routes, can I cluster them so that I can compare the PTPK and find the better PTPK there? Then comes the node as well. From which dealer, from which manufacturing or warehouse do I supply to which dealer? That whole network changes frequently. Now imagine we've got 25,000 dealers in the cement business. Now, if I add 100 more in the next quarter, then the whole equation changes because all these warehouses have their own capacity. Now that capacity and the need of the dealers changing as well. That cross-section has to be optimized so frequently. And how do I do that so frequently? So that my warehouses fall in a very reasonable place. We have seen benefit there. Now, I'll just take one more minute to summarize what I spoke about, that all of these opportunities we have seen. Having said that, what are the challenges? There are so many companies today talk about IoT, computer vision, the tools and technologies are available all around the place. People are aware of these technologies. However, we have difficulties, challenges in driving through what you call true digital transformation. True digital transformation, what do I mean? CEOs ask, and can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
So far?
In between we are losing, but we are getting the broader context here.
Okay. So I'll take one more minute to talk about this concept that when I'm asked by the CEO that how do you represent the digital quotient of a business? The digital quotient of a business, because I know I'm running a churn model. I'm running an energy optimization model. I've got an asset failure prediction model. Am I good? That's the question I'm being asked. Am I good? So the real challenge is that it's not about how many data science use cases I'm running today. That's not really a digital quotient. The digital maturity. When I talk about digital maturity, what I mean is there are 5 elements that I look at, and I have a objective scoring done for that. And I can talk, sorry, today line is a bit patchy, but then very happy to discuss offline as well. Sure. The data is first, number 1 is data. Now, when I say data, do I have a data strategy? When I say strategy, there are 2 elements. Is my data integrated? Number 1. Is it consumable? Is it available to the data scientist analyst in a consistent manner? At scale, not offline data, but online data. The 3rd element is the data quality. I might have a lot of data. Good enough, it's not useful to us. So data is a big issue there. Second is the decision-making process. I have got 15 different dashboards and so many neural network models in the backend running on, but is it being consumed by the business users? And I'll give you an example. If I have supply chain, the supply chain business user has got 5 interfaces to deal with, even to finalize one freight cost. So the freight cost, to finalize that, if the user has to look at 5 different interfaces, do you think they will use this insight at all? So that's the whole, how am I delivering the insight to the business users in a seamless and easy to use manner? That's the whole decision-making process. The 3rd is the POC versus this thing. That when I talk about how many imagination, how many POCs you run in a quarter versus how many of them actually go to live. If I look at that ratio, it's pretty poor because you've got a lot of POCs, but they never make it to the production. And hence, they're not driving business impact. So if that is the case, then we are actually not doing the true value, we're not realizing the true value there. And there are ways to think about it. And that's where comes the org structure, sponsorship, data strategy. All of these come into place in order to improve my POC versus live ratio. The fourth element is functional coverage. Am I doing only sales, marketing, supply chain, or am I also looking at all the functional areas, every areas of my business? Because they're all interconnected in the end of the day. The last element is I may have a lot of data scientists doing stuff, but if I do not enable my this consumption will not happen. So how do I have a continuous way to improve and nurture capabilities of the team? So these are 5 prone approach for me, and I have got a scoring mechanism to make it an objective way and track it over time.
Okay, yeah, I got it, Amitabh. I think though there was a little bit of disturbance in between, but we could get the context of it. And what you are trying to say is definitely data analytics is important, and is what you are saying is it should help you to make certain decisions. And you also gave some examples where you have already realized certain value in terms of raw material reduction, or we talked about energy levels, energy consumptions, asset efficiencies in the supply chain. But yes, yes, the data helps you to take a decision. At the same time, there is a certain value that you have realized. But you also talked about the challenges in terms of getting the hygiene of the data, making it more insightful, integrating dashboards, connecting them across the cross functions and things like that. So basically, as a summary, what I can take from you is that, data analytics is important. It should help, and in fact, it is helping you in some or the other way. But, there are certain challenges in adopting and realizing the full potential out of it, right?
Yeah, very well summarized, Dhirendra. Thank you.
Yeah.
And sorry about this patchy line.
No problem. I think we would love to discuss more about this. Aditya Birla is a huge group, and definitely we will connect back with you. And
please do.
Yeah. Thank you. Thanks for your time. And if you have a time, if you stay back, if time permits, we'll come back to you.
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah. Thank you. And next one, we will go to the Mr. Anubhav Tuli, who is the strategic lead for digital transformation at Maruti Suzuki. Mr. Anubhav, again, welcome and good afternoon. You represent the biggest four-wheeler manufacturer for India, and today we have seen a huge shift in the automotive domain with electrification that is coming in, and I'm sure that is going to be the next decade. And IoT and data analytics is going to be very, very important role going forward in the automotive industry. So just share your experience from those 2 questions I asked in terms of the key values driving business or the digital transformation and the role that advanced analytics can play in that context.
Sure. So first of all, good evening, everyone, and thanks for giving me this opportunity to be a member of here in the roundtable. So coming to the first question, like what is the key values which drive our digital transformation? So for Maruti and for any other organization, I think the key value for driving that should be the customer experience. How do we drive the customer experience and how can we enhance that? Well, we should actually think it from the scratch, do the design thinking process of what the customer wants, and the needs are changing drastically and very frequently. So we should understand that, and understanding that, taking that feedback from the customers and then driving products for that is something what one should do, right? The second value is agility, of how fast can you do those changes and how quickly can you respond to any new concern or any other feedback what you've got from the customers in terms of product or in terms of any of the services. The third thing is what we drive is we should build a business or a model which is scalable and flexible. So in cases when the requirements change, it should be flexible and it should be scalable, maybe so in terms of cities or maybe in terms of products or differentiating the products later on. So all these things should be possible there in future. So these are the 3 major key values which drive our digital transformation. Coming to the pitfalls of how we should, what are the obstacles we face during this is majorly in big organizations. There might be, first thing is a cultural change or a resistance to change because many people are adapted to the old ways of working and very big organizations. So to adapt them to digital front, we need trainings and multiple things. There are ways how the change management can be done, and then we have to overcome that resistance of how things will work in future. And the vision should be the long term on how we will be handling this new things for future. So that's how we should do that. second thing, or the second biggest obstacle what we face is was rightly pointed out earlier as well, wherein you have multiple legacy systems and multiple places where you have data residing. So if it's residing in multiple places, how do you integrate that data? And then only you can do analytics or any other things over that data. So the key value, what we think before we come to analytics, is to structure that data. How do we integrate all those data? So like we are working on SVOC currently, wherein like it's a single view of a customer for all the touch points a customer has done during his life cycle. If he has purchased 4 cars during his life, how many services, how many accessories, what all has he done? We should know about all the places where has he touched, and this is that we should integrate that data. So maybe he might be renewing insurance everywhere. So Maruti Insurance is a separate company, spare parts and accessories is a separate company, production is separate, sales is separate, and service is separate. So getting all that data and getting a single view of a customer is the first thing, wherein we should structure that data. If we don't have all the data points, we'll not be able to do analytics on that. And the last thing that will come over it is analytics. As Rajkiran also mentioned, that we need to work on like predictive analytics on how things will work in. And coming with the electric vehicles, that's the major thing. We need to like tell in advance, like, okay, this is the thing, or you want a service to be done on that, or a tire pressure is less, or how the battery is going down. So on all those things, we should be predictive, and we should have the autonomous decision making mechanisms as well. Later on, the data analytics will also help in giving you personalized recommendations, and it will also help the customers as well. We can define or segregate customers based on their behavior, and maybe later on the insurance value of each of the vehicle. For a same vehicle, the insurance value might be different for you and will be different for me based on just the data analytics, like how I drive my vehicle and how you drive your vehicle. So all these things will come into future, but that is a long vision and still to be achieved. But yes, if we have that path, we should visualize that, and then we should start capturing the data at least at the first go, and make it in a structured way so that the data analytics can work in. So sure. Predictive and decision making is something what we think is the next thing to come into picture.
Sure, and thanks for this great insights, and especially the 3 pointers you said, the values, customer experience. I think we all look for a good customer experience, agility to respond to the changes, and scalable and flexibility. But from a challenge perspective, I think cultural challenge probably is the biggest challenge to adopt to the technologies, and we'll discuss that in a broader context. But one of the things you said is about data integration and data consolidation. That may be true from an existing data that is inside our organization, but particularly, yes, maybe in 30 seconds, if you can answer this, how critical it is from a data consolidation integration from a vehicle perspective, where the live data is streaming from a connected vehicles strategy, or from that perspective, and how are you thinking about leveraging that data from an analytics perspective, and what kind of customer experience or the business value that it can derive out of that actually?
Right. So in electric, it has to be, it will play the major role. So in electric vehicle, the data is the key. So first thing is you will need to understand the person who's driving the vehicle. So based on that, you can say that, okay, your battery consumption will go out in this time. So maybe a person while driving a vehicle, for one person, it might go out in next 30 minutes, or for some other person who's driving behavior is different, it might go out in 20 minutes. So that's the real-time prediction, what you need to do, and you need to guide him to the next charging station. So that's how the kind of things. Also the predictive analytics, like how the breakdown will happen, or when the breakdown is assumed to be happen. So you can just preempt him to like do the tire changes or the oil, any other changes, whatever is required in the vehicle. So that's a real-time thing, and we need to build on some models on how to define these driving behaviors and other vehicle behavior and vehicle analytics as well. So the models are still at the nascent stage, and
I'm assuming that work is in progress in your organization, and we will see that. Yes, thank you very much, Anubhav, and we will come back to you if the time permits. And I'm looking forward for that day when insurance premiums are charged based on your driving skill capabilities. Because I've never claimed insurance, but I always pay the premium, the same as what others pay. So I think that is the something that to look forward. Yeah, so now from four-wheeler, we will go to the two-wheeler, to Hero MotoCorp, to Mr. Sanjay Sablok. Sanjay ji, maybe your views. I will not repeat the questions again, but you have already heard about it. So maybe your views.
So good afternoon to all the panel members as well as the team who is joined the today seminar or webinar. So I will say that today the digitization is everywhere happening, but the thing is, before we go for digitization, we should have the purpose why we want to go for digitization. Sometimes we go for the sake of doing the digitization, which is a totally waste of the efforts and the resources which we put. So first and most important thing is, anywhere in the business you want to do digitization, you should be clear what is the purpose, what I want to achieve after doing this. Then only the things will be driven in a proper manner and will give the desired results. With respect to what Anubhav has told, if you say for the core values is, of course, is the customer delight or customer experience, how we can improve the same. So we say, instead of customer experience, we say customer delight, which is driven by Dr. Kano model, which says that you identified the latent need of the customer and work upon it before he asks for the same. If you are able to do that, that you are the number one in the industry for giving that feature or that thing. And the customer will be more delighted and you can get the more business and everything will be right in the place. So just I will give an example that recently what is being done in the two-wheeler. One example is that if you have seen that two-wheelers, when people drive, that side stand remains in the down condition, which can result into an accident when he is turning the vehicle. So government also has put a condition that this condition is not desirable and industry should do something. So there is a kill model which is introduced, in which if your side stand is down, you cannot start the vehicle. Vehicle will not start. And if in vehicle running condition, side stand comes down, the vehicle will stop after maybe 10 meters or something. So this is one good thing which is with respect to safety of the customer. You are doing it. Now, while doing it, there is a features in which there is a sensor and other thing which give the signal for the vehicle to start or not. So this is one the thing which is for the digitization. So we see what is the goal of digitization. Digitization goals are three. One is improvement of the product. Second is automation of the processes. And third is simplification of communication. If you are able to achieve these three things, then you are doing the digitization for the right purpose. Now there is thing which comes. One is there is a desire of the customer or the people who wants to do the digitization. The second is feasibility, whether that can happen with the technology available or not. And third is viability. So you have to see the mix of these three, which is a common area where the desirability, feasibility and viability comes as a common. If you will put effort in that direction, then only it will be an overall win-win situation. If you will go any circle which is not a common circle in these three factors, then there will be a wastage of the efforts and end result will not come. So our focus should be with respect to that.
Yeah.
Now I will talk that there are many things which has to be done. And as I am in manufacturing area and looking into plant, so I will focus what we are doing at the plant level. So if you see the plant level, we have put the GPS in the trucks so that like Anubhav and other people are saying, your trucks are coming. If the trucks become late, then your production will be impacted. So you should have GPS with which you can know where is the truck. And if truck has fall with some accident, you can make plan B by sending your car, etc. If it is maybe 100 kilometer, 150 kilometer to pick the material in the night so that in the morning you can start the production at right time. So that is one thing which has been done. Now another thing which is done on supply chain is the tag time reduction. Turnaround time, where we say that truck comes inside the plant and goes out of the plant should be as minimum as possible. So we have worked on that and makes some digitization in which people can understand where the truck is, why one truck is taking more time in unloading.
So maybe Sanjay, just I'll interrupt here. So we are talking about digitalization. Yes, that is understood. But maybe just quickly, you can share your experience from the analytics perspective as a part of this digitalization. Like you gave an example of a truck, where you can check the coordinates and see if it is coming to the plant, and you'll be able to do your manufacturing planning rightly. So maybe a quick thought on the data analytics part of it, as because digitalization is just okay, you can digitalize the processes and things like that.
Yes.
But what about the data analytics? How it plays?
Data analytics is, suppose we reduce the like Anubhav has also said that predictive maintenance. If we are able to improve, like we have done the cockpit in the paint shop, in which there was breakdown. If breakdown happens in paint shop for a few minutes, the total time of breakdown is much higher than the actual breakdown. Suppose it happens for 10 minutes, you have the cooling of the paint shop, you have to take out the existing fuel tank which is inside and then restart. So it takes a longer time, and breakdowns become 10-minute breakdown will become 60 minutes, 70 minutes. So we have done the cockpit of the paint shop, in which we are able to predict which type of breakdown can happen, which bearing need to be replaced, what type of things should be done, which have put many sensors at defining the KPIs and the process requirement. So by that, we are able to reduce our breakdowns time from maybe 50 minutes on average to 5 minutes, like that. So a lot of analytics has been done with respect to that, where we need to put sensor, what type of sensor, which parameter need to be controlled. Similarly, in machine shop, our breakdowns were around 40 per month. Now we are at less than 9 per month. So a lot of analytic has been done with respect to that, and a lot of predictive maintenance things has been put, a lot of sensor has been put, and there is a LED screen on which you can get everything on digital form, in which you can visualize the things and can do the thing before they actually take place. So like that, we have done on the digitization. And next is the utility cockpit, because you know that there is a lot of power and fuel consumption, and a lot of cost of your manufacturing variable cost goes on that. So we are in the process of making the cockpit for the utility activities, where there is a compressor, DG house, powers, and other things, in which we will be able to see everything on one screen and able to take a decision by analyzing the things. So in that direction, the thing is going on. And another thing which is very important is what Anubhav has said, that there is 4 things: people, process, technology, and mindset. So if you are not able to tackle the mindset or culture change, then there will be a lot of difficulties. So whenever you want to implement anything, one is you have to take everybody on the same platform. Means you have to discuss in advance with them, make them agree that we want to do these changes. They may have some courage, it may impact their job, it may have impact on their profit, their salary, etc., etc. So you have to give a confidence that why we are doing this change, what are the benefits going to happen to the company, and how it is going to impact their own job profile. And if you are able to do that thing, then you can get the success. So this is in summary from my side. Thank you very much.
Excellent, sir. Excellent insights. Very good views, both from digitalization perspective as well as the analytics. And 2 examples you gave from the paint shop and the machining shop, where the predictive maintenance have reduced the downtime significantly. I think it's a great example, and it again proves that technology is there, and it can help to reduce these unplanned breakdown times. Yes, Anubhav also spoke, you also spoke about the cultural change mindset. Anyway, that's an interesting question, and I will come back to that to get some perspective on how you're working on those aspects actually to change that. So I will come back to you. Thank you very much, sir, on this. So the next we will go to Mr. Shaligram Rane, who is the Vice President and Head of Quality from Lupin. So we change the gear from automotive to the pharmaceutical now, and take another perspective on how the digital transformation, and especially in the context of analytics, I know your experience.
Yeah, thank you, the organizer, and it's a good discussion. I think I join as an odd man in this entire session probably, but maybe digital transformation is applicable in every industry, that we can actually have seen how the mobile actually from the like a manual mode to now the smart mode that everyone knows. The similar way, now in US, the Tesla, there is no required to have the driver in place, and that car can actually drive, just you have to put something. So that definitely importance of the digitalization in the entire world. Coming back to the pharma industry specifically, we are handling this biotech product, which is like a biosimilar we call as. And specifically, we use that product during the cancer treatment, specifically when the patient is taking the chemotherapy. So that time, these biotech products are supportive. and will enhance some immunogenicity to the patient so that the patient can survive more. Coming back to the challenges specifically from the key values. So I would say, even in pharma industry, we are little behind. If I compare with the auto industry or any of the industry, we are little behind from the digital perspective. And the main important thing is we have a lot of regulatory norms. Yes. Whenever we implement anything, it should be validated. It should be proved that whatever the data you are getting from the equipment or from the various different equipment, it should be integrated, and there should be no possibility at all to change even years and years. So that is the one of the challenge in the pharma industry, in every industry. But because of that reason, probably we are a little behind, because whenever I think in the last session I attended with the same organizer about in the August, and that time one of the case study was shared by the Dr. Reddy's, and they are I think first in India, the digitalization one of the plant of the tablet. Of course, that is a very good example, and I learned a lot of things. But basically, if you ask me what is the key drivers for my Lupin or for this biotech industry, the one would be the regulatory expectation. How we can actually, even though if we do the digitalization, how we can convey, because there are like a certain guidelines that you have to follow. And many times, even if we procure the equipment, even that could not, whatever the outcome we are getting, that is not 100% sure. So that's why there are many more challenges. And probably you must have seen the USFDA inspection. So whenever there are many more audits in the pharma industry, they are assigning the 483 or the warning letters to the industry, and most of the time the business stops from the US. And a main of the reason is the human error. So of course, when I say the human error, then the option is only the digitalization, because if the operation is doing by the human and he is recording, then there are challenges. But if it is automation, then definitely it will beneficial to the biotech industry, and definitely will improve the business from the growth perspective. The second point, of course, the cultural change that I think we already discussed, that is one of the factors. But of course, at least in the pharma industry, that is not very much challenging, because everyone, in fact, if you ask the even operator, they are actually saying why we have to perform this operation and why we have to record in the papers, because in pharma industry, if you see, the one batch record about more than 1,000 pages or even 2,000 pages. And specifically for the biotech process, it takes around 60 days to complete the entire batch from the raw material to the drug product in the injection form. So there are multiple operations and multiple challenges. So basically, from the data perspective, pharma expect that whenever there is any batch is going on, how we can actually collect the data, and how we can take that as a feedback for the next batch, so that we can improve our quality on day-to-day basis. So, and the other reason is because, there are multiple complaints also you must have seen, specifically from the packaging point of view. If I just bifurcate, there are around 60 to 70% complaints related to the packaging of the pharma product. And because of the manual operations, because of the certain things that could not able to handle properly and digitalization. So if we can do that operation digitalized, so probably definitely it will help to the pharma industry. And apart from that, if I just elaborate in next 1 minute this biotech process, so we are actually handling the cells. And when we grow the cells, so that time we have to even monitor the cells behavior through various different in-process parameters. Now, when we are handling, like now, this is like a human nature. So for this cells is also like one of the live cells. And for every batch, there is a different nature, how it grows in the different environment. So if we take one of the example during the batch analysis, so that time there are various factors like dissolved oxygen, we have to maintain, we have to check the pH, we have to check the conductivity. And even if there is a minor differences, then there is an impact on our cell growth. And if there is a difference on the cell growth, then it impacts on the product quality in the purification process. And there are multiple impurities may generate at the latter stage. And then we came to at the end. Then we lost the batch. Means ultimately we lost around 30 to 45 days in between. So if we have some digitization by integration of all our equipment, we have the fermenter, we have the chromatographic system, we have the very different filtration system. So if we integrate that all together, and if we like generate some data online, specifically not offline, so that even operator can see and even supervisor can see, and they can take the action in time, and we can save the batch, as well as the we can manufacture the right quality, so that we can secure all our patients. So from the pharma perspective, I think that is our expectation, and that is our key drivers.
Yeah, understood. I think it's very important, as pharma is extremely critical to the quality and regulatory norms. I think, as you said, process and equipment automation and digitalization there can provide you a good insight to maintain the quality and make the improve the efficiency and things like that. I think it's very important. And we are seeing a good success in the pharmaceutical industry also from an IoT and analytics perspective. Mostly because of the quality and regulatory norms. Thank you, sir. Maybe before I go to the next speaker, maybe Raj, quick views on whatever we have discussed so far. Maybe just 30 seconds.
I think a lot of things that have been said are consistent with what we've been hearing from customers worldwide. In other geographies, probably something we've heard a couple of years back from some other customers as well. But I think a couple of things stand out. What Mr. Sanjay said about not doing digitization for the sake of it. Yes. It's sometimes a fashion for a new digital organization to be established, and then doing the digitization without having the value drivers identified, the use cases prioritized, etc. I think that's one of the key things that should be identified or recognized by an organization upfront, to prioritize what they really want to measure, what they really want to sense, what data they want to really get, and then put that into a model and then determine what insights they want to get, right? And then predict based on it. So that's one. And the other is what Mr. Amitabh said right in the beginning, was about the fact that there is no dearth of platform players or software players in the market. There's no dearth of data scientists. There's no dearth of people who can create models or analytics models. What there is a dearth of is, how do you get the right kind of data? How do you sense the right kind of information from different machines, and then work with that and convert that to actionable insights? So these are the 2 points so far from what I heard. Culture change is, of course, a big thing, of course, and that needs to be incorporated, but these 2 stand out. Sure. Yeah. Thank you. Thanks, Raj. Maybe next we will go to Mr. Amit Panchal, who is the head of the business excellence and strategic planning at Kirloskar Oil Engines. Amitji, your views.
Yeah, thanks. Hope I'm audible to all of you.
Yes, you are.
Thanks, first of all, thanks for giving me this wonderful opportunity to share my perspective. To answer very precisely with the time permission, I have 2 very simple points to present to the esteemed panel. The first is, in driving the digital transformation, there are 2 important values we need to nurture. The first one is value creation. What value we intend to create, that has to be very clear in the leadership thought process. That's the first thing. Second thing is customer focus. When I say customer focus, is essentially focusing on the end customer, essentially how we are anticipating the unspoken need, the unspoken, if I can say, the concern. Because normally when we discuss customer satisfaction, customer delight, all those stuff, we really understand customer requirement. But what we don't understand is, do we know how we anticipate and how we identify unspoken, unwritten, unexpressed need, and how we convert this into our product offerings, our solution offerings, and how digitization as an initiative is helping us. If I put it in Hindi to simplify the meaning of that, shows that कि किसी के दिल की बात जान लेना. How digitization is helping you to understand what is happening in my heart and what I am looking for. That anticipating. So these two values is important. And I would like to supplement your point, Dhirendra, which you very profoundly said at the starting, that only 16% of the companies are actually successful in driving this digitization transformations as per the McKinsey report. Yeah. I could find out there are 6 enablers. If we focus, that can immensely help us in driving this successfully. The first one is defined why. Defined why means why we are doing digitizations, what are the key goals we would like to achieve, and can we integrate this in our business growth agenda. If not the part of the leadership agenda, there is no point in doing digitization. Yes. That is the first thing we need to understand. Yeah. Then you will not get a sponsorship, resource allocations, workouts, initiatives. The first and foremost, it has to be the part of leadership agenda, the growth agenda integrated in your business planning and essentially in your vision also. So finally, you will see how you are able to achieve your vision through digitization as a key enabler. That's the first thing. Second thing, we have to clearly understand how this digitization is going to drastically change, not incremental, but drastically change my customer, if I can say, satisfaction. Extremely important. See, let us understand one thing. Digitization, if we do it, fantastic. All data, algorithm, analysis, predictions, all said and done, fine. But am I able to influence positively my customer? Am I able to, if I can say, enhance my customer experience? Is there something happening at the customer? Is my customer can feel it? If it is not, it means it is still not given you the right benefit. Can we link it with the customer and can we understand the pulse? That's the second aspect. Third aspect is essentially from the leadership point of view, is my digitization, because I'm sure, as I rightly support what point mentioned by the Raj, and in doing so, it's so extremely important, is the digitization is integrated in my strategic plan. A big question. Or is it a stand-alone exercise? Or is it a stand-alone initiative? If it is a stand-alone initiative, it will go on its own space and you will have some benefits, but you may not get the real, if I can say, the advantage. But is it integrated in my strategic plan? Very important. It means what? It means, am I able to do some mid-course corrections? Am I able to predict the trends of the market? Am I able to understand what is upcoming and how digitization is going to help me to enable my decision-making process more robust and sustainable? Yeah. This integration with the strategic planning is very, very essential. The fourth very important point, which is the, if I can say, more than 50% of the organization is missing on that part, is identifying relevant KPIs. More than 50% of the dashboards, if you see all the dashboards, even for that matter, all said and done, the dashboards are there, the data are generated. Here, the point to ask is my dashboard is half empty or full? Is it capturing all the relevant KPIs? I have seen in assessment experience, more than 50% of the organizations may not have even identified the relevant KPIs, and therefore they may not have captured the important pulse of the system, which may be able to take them to a decision-making process. Yeah. Therefore, you may find dashboards are fantastic, but the dashboards may not be effective as is intended for. Yeah. So my fourth enabler, work on the dashboard scope and relevance and see how best we can make sure it's a comprehensive, covering all the relevant aspects. Yeah. Fifth very important aspect is that when we drive this kind of a program, very, very essential, is a team building. Understand one thing, we are working with people from R&D, people from manufacturing, people from marketing, all organizations. Without people, and here interesting is, this is not a departmental activities. This is a cross-functional activities. Every people bring their own expertise. Can we have a platform or a forum where there is a cross-functional group are working together for a common digitization projects? Because then only it will complete in part of execution. Because sometimes if you see a lot of digitization project may start, but may not get executed in time. Lot of coordinations, follow-up, interconnected efforts, interdependency issue comes in picture. So I think here, this is a wonderful opportunity for the organization. Nurture team building. Have this digitization as some of the very important, if I can say, the priority of that HOD, and they allocate required time and people so that executions, because finally, as I see, execution matters a lot.
Absolutely.
And that execution in time, as per the calendar, gives you the real benefit. So that's my fifth point, is focusing on the execution. And last but not the least, finally, we need to have some checks and balance. Means what? Digitization, as I see, basically, frankly speaking, I'm coming from a mechanical background. But as I see digitization, every day some new learning is happening, isn't it? Some new dimension, some new lesson, some new features is coming in the subject. And I'm very excited. So there is if I can say, we need to develop a team of some expert who constantly keep on evolving, understanding, learning what is upcoming trends. Integrate in your digitization journey. Because sometimes what happens, someone will say, sir, we have started digitization 2 years ago, but it may be so that that journey, they have not upgraded as in line with the current scenario.
Trends,
which may have drastically changed. What was applicable 2 years before may not be applicable. So constantly changing and that's my 6 enablers. I hope in the interest of time, I want to cut short the thanks.
I think I wish we could have more time, and we could hear more and more from you actually. Absolutely. I think some of the great points that you made, especially on value creation and KPIs, relevant KPIs, and most importantly is whether it's integrated as a part of the overall digital strategy. Because otherwise, if you do it in silos, it can give you some incremental things, but it is not really a transformatory project as far as an organization is concerned. So I think very, very relevant points. Now we slightly shift the gear now, and so far we were hearing from the actual manufacturers. So we will now come to you, Mr. Varkul Mittal, who is the Technology and Innovation Specialist from Wipro, the system integrator. Now, you being on the other side, Varkul, more from a consulting and a technology side, we heard from a actual manufacturing side. Maybe your quick views on some of the challenges that what the others have mentioned, and your views on overall digital transformation, and especially in the context of analytics.
Thank you, Dhiren, for the opportunity. And definitely, right now I'm hearing from people who are veterans and they are based out of India. Most of my customers are in Americas, in Europe, and other parts of the Asia Pac. So possibly they have got deeper pockets to spend dollars and pounds on the transformation sites. And the deals are of multi-million dollars that we sign, usually on a monthly basis for our order books and revenues. So I'll answer that. Definitely there has been a shift. When I say shift, let's not go very far. During the 2020 pandemic, there was a 15 percentage point increase in use of digital tools for health support by consumers. And 37% of consumers are very likely to use telehealth in the future, which we have seen. We all use Practo and we all consult doctors through a telehealth kind of a model. So this is a pure play consumer digital adoption when you see. Today, if I'm in Gurgaon, I don't need to go to a doctor in Gurgaon. I can choose a doctor in Dehradun, and I can choose to consult to a doctor. because it is as good as going to a doctor in Gurgaon and doing a telephonic consultation. So this is what is digitization. It is no barrier kind of a model which has been provided to all of us. Secondly, the adoption of digital services, which was initially only till financial services to a large extent. I heard today from a couple of veterans from automobile sector. And it's not only IoT, but digital transformation. It encapsulates analytics, process discovery, process mining, automation through different unassisted bots and ways. So we have seen that the amount of companies, I'll say the startups getting funded, the amount of IPOs we have seen in last 1 year, huge. And we haven't seen those IPOs in last 15, 20 years. So
most of them are loss making.
So the idea is that the market is growing.
Yeah.
The total addressable market, TAM, has increased a lot for all these startup companies, right? Which are into different kinds of technologies, which is whether it is again, whether it's AI, ML, or a low code, no code technology.
Mm-hmm.
I personally see that adoption level has gone up much higher. It is only the restrictions we have where we are not able to work very collaboratively, face to face under the common roof, and we are operating virtually. And the moment I keep my fingers crossed that once we all are able to work face to face, the amount of discussions that we will have with customers, whether B2B or B2C, the amount of spend on these technologies will definitely go higher. And there's no reason I see that that digital transformation or analytics or a focus on customer experience cannot generate at least 30% increase in customer satisfaction and the economic gains. So this is how I want to address your first question, where you have asked everyone that what are the key values driving your digital transformation strategy.
Yeah.
Second question to all have been that how critical is data analytics to you or to us, and what strategic role advanced analytics can play in the context of digital transformation. So I like to mention only 2 points in the interest of times.
Yeah.
First is data-driven companies are 58% more likely to beat revenue goals than those who are not focused on data. Not said by me. We refer to McKinsey, Deloitte, Forrester, HFS, or Gartner, all say the same. Secondly, the use of big data is now grown very heavily across industries, whether it's a media and entertainment. During COVID lockdown, everybody has used OTT apps like anything, right? So you can see that media and entertainment industries have benefited through this digitization to a larger extent. The multiplexes were not open. People have been binge watching on Netflix. And taking this example only, almost 100 million subscribers, which Netflix have been influencing because of its content, which has been viewed by subscribers due to accurate data insights. So just a small take from my end. Yeah. I'm happy to be a part of this esteemed panel and discuss any answers which come our way.
Sure, yeah. Thank you very much. And maybe before I summarize on this, Mukesh ji, we will come to you now. Mr. Mukesh Vyas, who is the General Manager for Integrated Solution Business Unit at Forbes Marshall. Maybe, sir, your quick views on both the aspect of digital transformation and, of course, data analytics.
Thanks, Raj, Virendra, and all panelists. A lot of wisdom from all sides, which has come up. See, Forbes Marshall, basically, we are in process control automation and energy efficiency of the plants, what we do. So basically, if we see two sides of the story, one is as a manufacturing company, like just now Maruti and Hero Motocorps, which they mentioned, we see one side that in any business cycle, what we see is the cash flow. Okay. So basically, we will be seeing most about throughput improvement, productivity and efficiency. So more output per hour, or that's what is required. Second is when we do manufacturing, we have three things to control. One is inventory. We have to control the inventory, and we have to control the production increase and the manpower management. And third thing is the complete outstanding of the payments of what you have in your company. So if you see any business cycle, you have the production, you have the inventory, and you have a payments to collect. And how fast you do this inventory cycle is the business profitability. Okay. So anything what we do, enabler as data or digitalization or digitization, whatever we can say, even though it's different, but it has to grow the profitability, right? That's what everybody talks about in the business. So how this digitalization is helping to grow the bottom line, either from all the business side we say. So in the COVID time, that's first. Second thing, to increase and sustainably increase the production, you need to have uptime of the equipments. So just Raj has shared some case studies, and just now Hero MotoCorp said about paint shop shutdown, or such kind of a predictive analytics and predictive maintenance, which is very important, so that your running equipments having continuously uptime. So I just tell you one case study is if NTPC power plants all across the India, the turbine has to be 100% up and running. If all their boiler feed pump or the motors or gearboxes or any manufacturing machine tool equipment has to run 100% uptime. If there's a failure of any of the equipment, directly downtime of the production. Okay, either it's a refinery, either it's a power generation, or any mass production unit. So how we connect this each and every equipment with all and capture the data and predict that when this next plant maintenance is going to come, and how we can have a ready of all spare parts, so that in minimum possible time we can fix it and it happens, and there is no surprises and shutdowns happens. And that's what we are seeing, that NTPC started fleet monitoring in their central control room in Delhi. Okay, so they are monitoring all the plants. Therefore, many customers today is asking for that kind of a tools. Even Tata Groups is doing, Reliance Group is doing. So, and then third, safety of the people who are working over there. So if the safety, uptime, and throughput and efficiency, if these three are addressed with a digitalization tool and inventory cycles are improved, then I think bottom line goes up. We have seen in our case, basically during pandemic, it was sudden we have to go into lockdown, most of us, okay? And then we have to have running production shop. Many projects has to be inspected by the third parties, many places. So we have geared up with a lot of tools, like digital tools, to have remote inspections of the production batch, because if the projects, then you have to have remote inspections and get it clearance so that it goes to the end users places. Then we have to have troubleshooting if there is any failure. Suppose there is a machine is stopped, how you troubleshoot. So collaborative troubleshooting through cloud or TeamViewer, whatever tools which we can get, we could solve the machine. These are real life issues actually. And that's what we are facing right now. Third thing which I just want to address is about KPIs and uptime. We are just addressing CPCB, for a pollution monitoring. If pollution monitoring is not addressed, and if the stack is emitting high, CPCB says shut down the plant. So it's just continuously monitoring of that, continuously groundwater monitoring. These are the current central government is also pushing for. So there are many things which is there, but last thing I want to say, agility. So most of us, we talk about the knowledge of the senior leadership about digital transformation is very, very limited. Okay. So whether they know what is digital transformation is all about, whether they are up to the speed of technology which is available, whether they are taking decision faster or they are procrastinating on all of this, and whether they are allocating the adequate fund for it, and then whether they are hiring a diverse talent of computer engineering, data scientists, rather than only a shop floor equipment, shop floor engineers who are not going to drive it. So I think all in all, I think we need to nurture the talent, not from the bottom up, from top down, all the places. That's what I can see at this stage. And because if the youngster is going to talk, this is what is required, then I think both has to align the thought.
Yeah.
And then they can small mini project or incubation kind of project should be started across all the companies. I think that's what will help. That's my thought on this.
Sure. Well, excellent, Mukesh. I think very insightful thoughts, and the emphasis that you gave on the productivity improvement with the uptime of the machines, whether the machines in the factory or like you gave an example of a turbine, in the power generation, how to keep monitoring of that and get all the data and understand and predict or plan, the maintenance of that equipment so that the power shutdown, unplanned power shutdown may not happen. I think that's a great example, and that also gives an importance of how data, first of all, capturing the data and understanding the data and analyzing that data to keep those machines up and running, whether they're in the factory or they're in the field, actually. They're very nice. So I have a few more questions, but before I do that, I just want to check with Ekta. We have another 10 minutes to go. Ekta, any question from the audience?
No, I've just mentioned that on the chat box, okay, that if we have any questions, they can mention that there and we'll take it from there.
Yeah, so far there is no question, right?
Yeah, so far no question.
Okay, maybe then I'll make use of that time. Okay. I'll just put this question. Maybe you can raise your hands or just you can volunteer to answer this thing. We discussed about the need for the digitalization. What are the values driving the digitalizations? And also the role that analytics or the data capturing analytics play in this overall transformation. But now, as some of you have already given certain examples of how the predictive analytics has already helped, in improving the uptime and improving the productivity and things like that. Now, at this point of time, let us assume that, and in fact, it's not assume, it's actually the fact that, there are right tools and technologies available to make this happen. So, or with right tools and technology available, and we spoke about a cultural change that is required in the mindset of the people, these cultural change or the processes are becoming the hindrance or obstacles to adopt to these technologies and do the digital innovation? And how are you, tackling that in your organizations? Maybe you can just volunteer this to answer. Yes, Mukesh, yes, please.
Yeah, sorry, I just wanted to say that it is quite a difficult question to answer, in a easy way, because unless and until we have the as just Mr. Panchal mentioned, that top buying in the ideas, it is not going to go anywhere. Okay, so if we have to build a culture, that means we need to have the right kind of a talent which is talking about with the real life some case studies. So we have, in our case, as a Forbes Marshall, we have a digital initiative team. Okay, so we created digital initiative team where the people who has a band of this technology and capability and knowledge. Okay, and this digital team keep presenting every week to all the senior management team members. That's what's going on at this stage and what all can be changed in the manufacturing side inside the company, as well as what offering can be given for customer support, where the customers see the value addition at their end, and how we can see this uptime, typically theme which we are working on, uptime and sustainability, how the customers see the value in uptime and sustainability of their equipment and their processes. So we have one group which is called Digital Initiative Group. Keep presenting every week about new ideas, new concepts, and they have horizontal across the organization from all business units. They keep talking and they coming back to the management team. That's how we do.
So that's how you're addressing the larger group and taking their buy-in right in the beginning. Yes. So that the adoption becomes much easier when you actually implement.
Yes, and then we need to hire a couple of other young talent who can help them to just keep giving the insight about what is going on worldwide about technology front, how we can adapt that.
Yeah. Any other views on the cultural change that is, and how you are taking? Yes, Samitji. Yes.
See, one thing is very interesting here. If I would like to compare this digitization journey with the implementation of TQM, Total Quality Management implementation, or lean manufacturing implementation, there was a cultural challenges was there, definitely. But in this situation, the challenge is different. The challenge is not, people are, on the contrary, people are extremely excited about digitization.
Okay.
They want to be the part of digitization. There is no question about it. Challenge is totally different. The challenge is, are we prioritizing and also aligning our digitization with my daily work management, with my monthly goals, with my quarterly plans, with my annual plans? That's what I said. If it is not integrated, what happens? You may not get the right importance for the digital project.
Okay.
It becomes standalone. So I could see the challenge is a completely different nature. The nature, whenever we talk about digitization, the thinking is very clear. Is it going to be integrated finally at my achieving growth plan?
Yeah.
Or is it going to help me to achieve my customer delight?
Yeah.
Or is it going to help me to strengthen my process maturity?
Yeah.
It has to help me. And what I could see challenge is if I can say, the HOD or that's a challenge for them, is to make sure this linkage are visible.
Yeah.
Whenever the linkage are not visible, it creates a confusion. And whenever there is a confusion, there is a lack of priorities. And when there is a lack of priorities, there is a lack of focus and there is a lack of effort. And suddenly you will find people are losing interest in this entire moment. But I could see there is in fact, positive pressure on the leadership team this time. This is my take, in fact.
I think I completely agree, because it's not really people not wanting to adapt to the technology, but maybe it is not important in the context of the overall plan of the company. If it is not really as part of the business strategy, then it becomes a small job. If they get time, they do it. If not, you just leave it. It's not part of the. So that means it's very clear the digitalization program, if it is not part of the CEO objectives or the management board, then it simply cannot take off.
Absolutely.
It can start somewhere, but it just have its natural depth, and in somewhere along the way, actually.
Absolutely.
Great. Thank you.
Just to come in here, it's only possible as a priority to CEO when business unit person clearly, present them how it will bring the value on the table.
Yes.
So if there's a divisional managers, or if it is a business unit manager, or whoever is who's creative and innovative, if they get a time for a couple of hours, they should be able to present that how it will bring the value on the table to the company. And that's how it will be, accepted by board or the CEO. Typically, that's what.
Yes. Absolutely. Yeah, I think, and that is what our experience also as a technology provider, we also experience that if it is not bought out at the top level, we can do all those science projects or proof of concepts, and that will go on, and people keep on asking for their own technological upgrade and their own interest, but it's not going to anywhere. As Amit sir, I think you also said that, most of the POCs remains at POCs, and they don't really get into an actual production system. Yeah, great, fantastic. So I just, I think 2 or 3 minutes, I just want to summarize with maybe 2 or 3 key pointers, more from a first question on the value that drives the digital transformation. What I've done is I've picked up actually 3 areas. The first and the foremost is about all customer, customer experience, customer focus, and value creation to the customer. And even Amit, as you said, Dil ki baat, understanding the unspoken language and incorporate that as a part of the product development and delight him without he asking, actually, right? So I think the customer experience should be as a part of the focus in overall digitalization program. I think that's a key value. Second, is all about agility to respond to the changes, because these automation, data capture, analytics, insights should also help you to, how quickly you can respond to the changes that happens in an organization. Because today customer changes his requirements, something happens on the shop floor side, some uncertainties will happen. Suddenly, as I said, lockdown will happen. There is a shortage of raw material. You never know, what it all going to happen. So if you are digitalized in such a way that you are able to respond quicker, then probably you are quicker to the market than the others who are not digitalized in that way, who can respond that faster than you, actually. So I think that can differentiate. The second one is the agility, which I have picked up. And the third one is basically, improving the throughput or the manufacturing or the operational efficiency, I can say, not necessarily in manufacturing, but even in the service side and things like that. Keeping the uptime of the machines, getting the data, predicting the failure, and making sure that those machines are up and running continuously apart from their planned downtime, so that they get a maximum throughput, and and of course improve the customer satisfaction. Because today, and you all might agree that today business is going towards product as a service rather than the product itself. We are not really bothered about the product, but we are bothered about the outcome. What that product is supposed to do. We are okay with that if it does that, rather than the product, whatever it is, right? So for that to happen, the uptime of the machine is very important. So you need to continuously capture and understand and predict and avoid the failure, so that uptime of the machine happens. So all these three, whether it's a customer focus, the agility, or the predictive analytics, or the predictive approach, basically help in improving the customer satisfaction and increase the revenue, and support in increasing the profitability. Now, coming from the challenges point of view, and I can see two major challenges in order to achieve these three. One is definitely, first of all, the purpose of this whole program, right? It can provide these benefits, but is it aligned to the business needs? Is it aligned to is it part of the overall business strategy? I think why part is extremely important. The purpose is extreme. I think most of the projects are failing because there is no purpose. Just as an IT project, everybody is doing Industry 4.0. Let me also do it. So that way, kind of a thing. I think that is very important. And the second one is the mindset as such. It's not that big deal, but maybe in some of the organization it is still there. But with next generation coming in, I think the mindset is there all for digitalization, and they are looking for these new technologies to learn and adopt and improve. So that is the quick summary. Thank you very much for all of you taking your valuable time and providing your learnings and experience. I'm sure it is a great value to all the audience who were listening on this program. Ekta, it is back to you to conclude.
Yes, thank you so much. So I think you all panelists and everyone has covered the topic wonderfully. We didn't have much questions, but yes, we gave a lot of time to all the panelists to share their thoughts. So indeed, it was a very interesting panel discussion. So on the closing note, it's just that I would like to thank all the thought leaders for taking out your precious time being here, all the audiences for being today with us. It's a weekday, and you took out your time at noon and came on the round table. Of course, a partner PTC for sharing interesting insights. Not missing our conference producer Shamin, who managed to get the speakers on one platform. Also I would be telling, we would be reconnecting with all the thought leaders and the senior audiences who have joined us for a brainstorm session with PTC. And so Mr. Rajkiran and Mr. Dhirendra will have few people for the brainstorm session as well for one-on-one. So that's all for the day. And thank you once again, everyone. Stay safe and wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Yeah, thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.